on block 2 this month. I did already share with you Julie's video from earlier this week that shows you how to do this block. So I'm just going to go over some of my basics for you, my tips and tricks. Nothing really much different, but just maybe a couple things that might help you out so you know how to have the most successful block in this. All right, so starting out with this pattern, once again, you're cutting 2-inch strips. There's actually enough fabric in this kit, you could make 2 sets of each, which is kind of cool. So take your 2-inch strips, sew them together per the coloring diagram or color diagram that shows you what the block looks like. So make sure, because I already screwed it up once, that you have your stripes in the right part when you go to do your cutting and those kinds of things, because that's important. And like me, you can screw it up. Like I tell you, if you take my classes, I teach the class to show you what not to do, because I always seem to figure it out. So that's part of being me. I just mess things up and then I teach you how not to. So hopefully that's okay for you guys. Not perfect. No quilter is. So start with your strips. I'm going to show you some of my trimming techniques and how I cut. And then I'll show you block construction. So I'm going to move this camera. We're going to work our way down here to my cutting table. Okay, the first thing I did, because I'm doing scant seams, so not quite a full 1/4-inch seam, just to make sure I have enough, is I went back and trimmed. So once I have the 2 strips together, I decided this time around that I would do better if I made sure that the section itself was 3.5 inches wide. So I don't know if you can tell too well, but mine, they came out just a skosh, like a 1/16 of an inch bigger. So I went and trimmed each of these strips. And so I'm just tucking this a little bit to make sure that it is all the way to the 3.5 inch side of that part of my ruler. And then I'm just trimming off the little bit of excess, okay? So I did that for all my strips and all the colorways. What made it a little easier for me was I did line up the left-hand edge as best as I could on one of the lines on my mat to make sure that it was all nice and as clean as could be. And this one's actually, as you can get with strips, you get a little waffly, a little wonky. Sometimes that's if your seam goes a little rogue and you don't stay quite on that 1/4 inch. I do get that way occasionally. I get a little crazy train. So making sure this left hand of the strip set is on my 3.5, and then trimming off the right half. Really doesn't matter which color you trim off. That's up to you, because you certainly can't trim both sides equally. There's just not enough overlap to worry about that. Okay. So then, just like Julie shows you, we're going to do these half hexies. Now, I did discover 2 different ways to cut these guys, so I'll show you the 2 ways I did. And you want to make sure on this one that this piece of mineral is on the bottom when you're doing these half hexies. So pay attention when you're doing these cuts that you have the correct fabric that's on the wider portion of your half hexagon. So then the first way I did these is I just laid the straight line of the 6.5 hexagon on the bottom, and I cut. I made sure I cut the dog ear, and then I just flipped it, matched up this 6.5 hexagon, and then trimmed this side. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. And then what you do next is you're cutting your triangle. And your triangle will always match this direction. So I have the 3.5 line on the top. Notice I'm not lining up here. You could match and make sure if that's a nice clean line, go ahead and cut your triangle. I actually cut it bigger because I just wanted to make sure. And then I flipped it, flipped my ruler, lined it up on the 3.5 inch line, and then lined up this straight side that I just cut, and then trimmed again. And then if you've seen Katie's comments or my comments last month, cut off the little dog ears on all 3 sides. So all that means is turning this triangle and relining up with the 3.5 each time. cutting off all these little dog ears. Okay, so you have a lot of dog ears all over your sewing room. Now the other way to do the hexagon is, I'm going to show you on the other strip. So we start out with a straight edge. So this one, the stripe needs to be on the bottom, on the fatter side of the hexagon. What I ended up doing the other way was I started with a 3.5 inch triangle, cut off that left-hand side, the first half of the hexie. Okay, and then I turned this guy so I could trim that little dog ear. And then I could just lay the hexie on here. And so I already have this left side all cleaned up, ready to go. And then work my way on this side, right? So 2 ways of doing it. Both work, both, are efficient enough. It really just comes down to what you want to do. Do you want to cut the right-hand side, then flip it and trim it and clean it? Or do you want to start out with the left-hand side nice and clean? It's really whatever you want to do. So triangle again. I'm going to flip it. And I'm going to clean this edge because I found when I was cutting that half hexie, occasionally I was getting a little bit of wonky side when I was getting to that dog ear. So this is why I like overcutting it and then trimming it down to make sure this triangle really is about as perfect in size as possible. And then rotate and trim your little dog ears off of each side. Okay, so then you have triangles. So you're going to cut that. So 2 sets of triangles and 2 sets of half hexies out of each strip that you create. Okay, then what will happen, because this is what you're creating, you have those. Okay. Let's try to stay on camera for you guys. How about that? That would be helpful. Okay, so then you're going to swap and lay them right sides together. And see, because we have those edges trimmed, they just nestle up right against each other. Okay, so this is why you want to cut all those little dog ears off, so you can just line everything up and you don't have to find the center, all that kind of stuff that she tells you in her video. 1/4 inch seam here, and then magically you'll have triangles. Okay, so you're going to have 2 sets. This is how they look. All right, so for the final steps of putting this block together is you have all of these triangles. You're going to make 2 sets of a bigger diamond. Okay, so you'll take the opposites. That way you get this whole, where we go stripe, solid, floral, mineral, stripe, solid, floral, mineral in 1 diamond. So you have 2 sets of those. Okay, so same thing. You're going to put them right sides together, line up those nice squared off edges, 1/4 inch seam allowance, and magically have diamonds. Need like little music to insert here, huh? Okay, so then you can start laying out the entire block. So when you go to put them together, you're going to have on this one, you want to make sure that the 2 triangles you're going to then sew next are opposites. Okay, so where this triangle is the mineral in the blue, these 2 triangles need to be the stripe, and then you're going to do the opposite for the other one. So then, because you want your center in the end to look different, okay, that way this will look like a full hexagon in the middle, and it'll be every other one's going to be different. So stripe, mineral, stripes, mineral, okay? And nothing matches. Okay, so that's how it's going to look. And as usual, chaos in my house. In the end, that's how it looks. I apologize. I had hoped for better results without dogs. Yay! Go figure. Amazon. Oh, I try. Can't win with the dogs. But So one color is going to look like this. The other color looks like that one that I laid out. If you want a dog-free video, go watch Julie's. There's no chaos in hers. As for me, this is why I'm mayhem. If you have questions on putting any of this together, just reach out to me, email me, call me, message me through Facebook. If it's just not lining up, if it's not working out, let me know. Otherwise, it should be just nice, pretty diamond. Shouldn't need any trimming. It all should work out just great for you, because you're going to do those extra steps in the beginning to make sure everything's the 3.5-inch strata, all of that kind of stuff, to make sure that it all just lines up and nuzzles up as best as possible. Okay, guys? So once again, it's a fabulous Friday. Go enjoy it. Put these blocks together, be done, and get ready for next month. All right? Till then, happy stitching.